Hey everyone, I'm Jess and it's time to do my December wrap-up. So the first book that I read in December was a book that I'd started late November and was finishing up when I got to the beginning of December, and that is The Sacrifice Box by Martin Stewart. This is the ARC. It comes out this January and I got this at Yauk. I got it signed by Martin Stewart. And I didn't realise the significance of the teddy bear until I read a couple of chapters in. And what it says on the front here is, never come to the box alone, never open it after dark, never take back your sacrifice. And those are the 3 rules of the sacrifice box. And of course, as you can tell, there wouldn't be a book without one of those rules being broken. I got a very 80s vibe from this book. It reminded me quite a lot of Jumanji, which is excellent. I absolutely love the Jumanji films. However, I did get a bit mixed in between what age this was kind of levelled towards. I had mixed feelings about this book. I really liked the 80s vibe and the Jumanji throwback, but I wasn't convinced by the way that the characters and the horror element welded together. The next book I read was War, Wizards and Robots by will.i.am and Brian David Johnson, and this is the Wizard ARC copy that I got at Yauk. A really solid, nice book, and from the title, Wizards and Robots, you can tell quite a bit's going to be going on, and then there's this regular teenage girl that's a character in there, and then there's time travel. And for the thickness of the book, as you can probably tell, it is pretty fast-paced. It's all very packed and condensed in here, and I really liked the pace. It felt like I was kind of watching a bit more of a movie as opposed to reading a really thick, chunky novel. However, having said that, I feel like there could have been a bit more development. There were some typical kind of adult writing as a teenager cliches about how they're worried and wish they could be worried about normal things like exams and boys and things like that, which every time I read them I think it just takes it, like the book notches itself down a little bit, just because there's a little cliches that I'm tired of reading, because actually I don't think people think like that. But this is probably the first book I've read in a good long while that if somebody asked me what kind of book I would recommend to a 10-year-old boy, I'd say go and look at this. And I don't think that having a female character, so there are different points of view in here. You get the point of view of a robot, a wizard, and then a normal teenage girl. And I don't think the normal teenage girl actually means that this wouldn't be a good read for boys. I think actually it fits in really well, and it's not focused on kind of dilly-dallying. It is action-packed and throws you in there, and I think is quite a good premise for a movie, to be honest. So I also got into a small compilation of stories for the Christmas period. I was reading A Christmas Carol and Other Christmas Writings by Charles Dickens. I haven't gotten the full way through this book, I'm about halfway through. I have read the Christmas Carol and another couple of short stories that were at the beginning. For me, still to read is a book called The Haunted Man and the Ghost's Bargain. I think that's also by Charles Dickens. A Christmas Tree, What Christmas Is as We Grow Older, and The 7 Poor Travellers. So I'll finish this off in January, hopefully. It was really, really lovely to read the original part of where Scrooge and the 3 ghosts came from, because, I mean, it's been overdone now, but it's nice to go back to the source, and the level of description in older books and older writing is so vivid, and it's something you need to chew through slowly, otherwise it just goes over your head. I did find myself having to reread a couple of lines a couple of times to let it actually sink in, but it's always lovely to sort of look back at a classic, and I think I'm going to have a look at more classics this year. I also read through the illustrated edition of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, written by J.K. Rowling originally. This one is illustrated by Olivia Lomanek-Gill, and this is a signed copy. It's really lovely to see these creatures in colour as opposed to the original books that I have. They're all in black and white and quite rough. The artwork itself for me is just a little bit messy. I like really, really intricate designs, and there's a nice little letter by Newt Scamander in the beginning of this that I don't think there was in the original books, so it was nice to get some new content as well. I also read a small series of comics called Sons of Eros by Pierce Brown, and this is the kind of prequel to the Red Rising trilogy. So there are 6 of them, and for the first 2 or 3 these were rereads, and then I had stopped because it was taking a while for them all to come out, so I did a read of all of these over maybe 2 days, because of course Iron Gold is coming out in January, very, very soon. I'm very excited. These were an incredible insight to Fichtner's life. I don't think that's a spoiler. If you're watching this, you probably already know, or not. These are something you definitely need to read after Red Rising. Even though it's the prequel, I think you get more from it having read it after Red Rising. I got loads of revelations in this. The artwork is really, really great. The darkness is fantastic as always. Pierce Brown going into another medium for part of his series is really, really innovative, and I can't wait to see what he does next. As I said, those comics are the prequel to Red Rising. I reread Red Rising for the 3rd or 4th time, I'm not completely sure, during December. I'm gearing up to reread Golden Sun and Morning Star as well before the release of Iron Gold in January. This is a sci-fi book I could recommend to anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of sci-fi, if you've been reading your sci-fi your whole life, you need to read these books by Pierce Brown. It is action-packed, it is gut-wrenching, it is emotive and beautiful and chaotic and hilarious, and it's so excellent, and it has got a TV or a movie deal, I cannot remember which, but it had better be done well. And I mean like HBO standard well. So the first book, Red Rising, is maybe a little bit Hunger Games-ish. I know lots of people are picking up on cliches of YA and things being done over and over again. And for those people, the first book may be a little bit Hunger Games-ish, but there is so much more behind this. It's absolutely huge. I mean, it spans across the universe. This book, the series and the saga is continuing. Hopefully there are 2 books to come out this year in 2018, and I am so excited. I have got 4 copies of Iron Gold on pre-order already. It's not to be underrated at all. It's thoroughly enjoyable. Howlers for Life. Oh, get on these books. So that's the mishmash of books that I read during December. I hope you guys got some good reads in there and got your Goodreads challenges in before the end of December. I'm going to read as many books as possible over the next year. January is going to be filled with some fantastic books already, I can see. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.